Okay then. Nof Glibberhai, friends, Darth Momo here, to talk about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. As we are approaching The Last Jedi, a mere 6 days away, fans, followers, people, I'm hit. I'm ready. Bring it on. But now, you may be wondering, well, why is he reviewing Rogue One? He already did that. Well, I did, but first off, uniformity. Second off, I don't want to re-release the review to keep in line with these reviews being released. And third off, it was a lengthy review. But now that a year has gone by and some more criticism has been given, some more praise has been preached, let's do a recap. So if you'll see my first review, or if you have seen my first review, if you haven't seen it, don't go watch it. 16 minutes, too long. Anyway, I was kind of critical of the film, and not as accepting, but now I absolutely love the film. It's my second favorite film, second only to one, but we'll get there later on. Anyway, so the acting. Let's get to the acting after having sit through 3 prequels and an animated film. The acting was so much better here. The acting was good here. The acting was great. And the writing, perfect. I love the writing. I love the dialogue here. Some of my favorite lines, such as, there's a problem on the horizon, there's no horizon, or you're not the only, or what was it? Oh, you don't have to, or I have to convince you or something. You don't have to. Some good lines here. And tension. So, this film, it is a little bit slower paced. And it takes a while to figure out what it wants to be, to kind of get its treading. But once it does, it's great. But that's 2/3 of the way into the film. I mean, it's not as slowly paced as other films, but it's not fast enough to kind of keep your attention going. I mean, when I first saw the movie, of course, my attention's still going, but now it's kind of drowning out a little. Of course, once you get to the ending, it's just, whew. The first act flew okay, second act flew okay, third act flew greatly. I love some of the little fan bits it had, such as Red and Gold Leader, the Ghost, Chopper. There's only 2 things I would have liked to see differently. First off, the planet at the beginning and Mustafar. I would have liked to see those been titled. The planet at the beginning was Lamu. And I'd also like to have seen Hera Syndulla. So, don't get me wrong, I love the Rogue One connections that they made, but with how big of a, significance Hera is at the Alliance at this point, it begs the question, why wasn't she at that meeting? I mean, not that she had to be focused on and everything like, oh, hey, it's General Syndulla, Ghost Crew leader. She's been in 4 seasons of Rebels. No, it's just, she should have been at least in the meeting that they had towards the middle of the film. Oh, and Darth Vader. There must have been something different with his voice filter, because I know some people have said, oh, it's because James Earl Jones is older. But if you watch Star Wars Rebels, the few episodes he's in, his voice sounds not too far off. I mean, you can definitely tell there's a difference from the days of the original trilogy, but it's not as different as it sounded in Rogue One, so I think just different effects were used or something. Not too big of a fan of that. Otherwise, and Saw Gerrera. I'm okay with the portrayal, but not necessarily the way he was written. It didn't feel completely right. Some of it did, some of it didn't. Oh well, we have it, we'll work with it, and Rebels, I think, has been able to help tie it in together. So, otherwise, I love the film, I love the characters. The characters could have been a bit more fleshed out, but not as fleshed out as some people were wanting, because, I mean, with other characters such as Han, Luke, and Leia, we had 3 films, so 6 hours there to flesh them out. And with people like Anakin with people like Ahsoka or Rex, we had 6 seasons of a television show to flesh them out. We had 6 different characters here, 7, 8, somewhere like that, and about 2 hours to flesh them out. So I thought it could have done a tad better, but I'm not criticizing it for that because, again, 2 hours. The music, At first I was very critical of the music, but now it's kind of grown on me. I like it more. Not the best, but it definitely is not the worst. The Your Father Would Be Proud that plays at the end of the film, that's one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars music so far. What else we got? I thought all in all, CGI. Used a bit too much CGI. It could have been more practical effects, but I guess George Lucas probably liked it. In fact, I know he loved the film, and it works. It ties perfectly in. It's got some connections to the prequels and all of Star Wars, and I think that's why George Lucas liked it so much as well. It's just its originality, its boldness to do some decisions, and I think it fits well too. It's got a few connections to the prequels, not enough to be like shoving it in your face like, yo, the prequels are still canon, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, we're going to pretend they never happened like The Force Awakens. It's got a few connections to the point where, okay, it feels like, yeah, this still happened, even though it was 20 years ago. And it's definitely connecting to the original trilogy, but that's because that's right there in the timeline. And then it has a connection or two to Clone Wars, and a few connections to Rebels. All in all, it fits perfectly. And it brings the saga full circle, because we start out with Leia and Vader and the Death Star plans. Empire, Jedi, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, The Clone Wars, Rebels, Force Awakens, and Rogue One, where it ends right with Leia, Vader, the Death Star plans. And it is amazing. I jumped out of this chair when Vader's lightsaber lit up, and I screamed the S word because everyone was like, oh, there's not going to be any lightsabers, and I'm like, ow! And I'm looking back like, oh, because we just had our characters all die. We're like, whoa! And then Vader comes in and he's like, GG, we're like, ah! And then Leia's like, hope, and we're like, ah! The film's over! I love this film. Just to be clear, again, I did not swear there. I rarely swear nowadays, which is surprising if you see some of my earlier videos. But of course, the emphasis is still there. Now, we'll bring the review to a close by giving it my ranking. So, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I'm going to have to give it at place number 5. Simply because, it's got some flaws, but it's got a lot of strengths. And I'm just saying, although the one above it barely gets above it. Of course, we'll explain that later in a review. Otherwise, it's definitely better than the prequels. It's just there's 3 films better than it, and 1 film barely better than it. It's kind of slower paced, a couple clunky moments, but all in all, it turns out good. And I love it. Take that, critics! Thanks for watching, guys. May the Force be with you. Darth Momo, out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them a delight.